Story 1. The United States National Park System. I honestly believe it cannot get better. At this point in our climate, upkeep of the parks and funding is the golden age. Story 2. There's a lot of bad in here, so as a guitarist, I'm gonna say guitar. There's so much innovation in the world of guitar, from the way guitars themselves are being made, the precision, the effects, both digital and analog amplifiers, all of it. It's a great time to be a guitarist. Story 3. Virtually all of the knowledge gained in the past 500 years is instantly available to a significant majority of the populace of the group of 20 nations, yet a disturbing number of people will believe a random YouTuber who claims to have some conspiracy insider deep state knowledge. Anti-vaccine, faked moon landings, anti-expert sentiment because there is that deep state pulling the levers to keep sheeple under their control. The Watergate scandal was relatively minor, and it couldn't be kept secret. Story 4. Guitar gear. Cheap guitars are 5 times better than 20 years ago. Recording software is amazing. You can buy a modeler that has over 300 amplifier models in it. There are tons of weird and interesting pedals for under $200, etc. Story 5. Kids entertainment. Never before has such high-quality, deep, rich, and elaborate shows and movies designed for kids existed. From preschoolers watching National Treasure, Ms. Rachel and the Imaginative Blippi, to Transformers 1 and the Sonic movies, not to mention shows like The Owl House, Craig of the Creek, Amphibia, Steven Universe, the list goes on. Even Sesame Street is high production. The theater kids grew up and made a lot of good quality entertainment, and it shows because many adults watch those shows and movies too. My kids watch most of the stuff I listed, and I have to admit they're funny and overall good. Animation quality, voice acting, stories, we're definitely in a golden age of kids entertainment. And that doesn't even include games like Minecraft, Fortnite, and the millions of kid-friendly chill games. Story 6. As a more positive option, I may actually say television. Sure, there have been great television shows for decades, but we are consistently getting highly budget, well-made television shows every year, and they are drawing in bigger and better actors. Not every show is amazing, but it is impressive just how many good ones we get each year. Story 7. Guitars and basses. For comparable quality, you can get a great guitar for a quarter of what it used to cost. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different models to choose from. Story 8. Recreational drugs? You can get pretty much anything on the internet at this point delivered to your house, and the governments of the major developed or semi-developed countries where said drugs are coming from are either too inept, too corrupt, or both to do properly coordinated enforcement to their full potential. Story 9. Action figures for adult collectors. The nostalgia boom is fueling a surge of adults buying new versions of childhood toys, in addition to the superhero movie boom. The technology is better than it has ever been. I believe it's the golden age and will decline in the future, as newer generations will not have the same attachment to action figures as they will to video games. Story 10. Technological development, specifically in artificial intelligence, androids, and machine learning, is making most things more accessible to the general public. We've technically been in the Renaissance for hundreds of years. Story 11. WWE's product. Sure, the Attitude Era was fresh, real, and exciting, but nostalgia is very selective about the good times, and there was a lot of awful content during that period. Right now, World Wrestling Entertainment has talent in abundance, and the creative team is currently writing with a view of where things will be months from now. Previously, it was rushed week by week. Back in 2004, a lot of fans believed Triple H having any power in the company would be catastrophic, but 20 years later, he is the shining light of the industry. Story 12. Guitar manufacturing. Pretty much any new guitar you buy today will be a passable instrument. When I was a kid, it was not like that. Squier guitars, Fender's discount brand, bordered on unplayable, and if you got someone knowledgeable to set them up to make them playable, they wouldn't stay that way for long. These days, everything is cut with a computer numerical control, and even a bottom-rung guitar will serve a student for a couple of years. Story 13. Not golden but gilded age. To denote the gap between the rich and the poor reaching high disparity. The last time this happened, rich people died and their property was vandalized. Story 14. Video games. They have storylines that rival full-length movies, and the graphics are improving much more quickly. Virtual reality games are doing some really incredible things as well. Story 15, Old School RuneScape. Over 200,000 online, a new peak. A limited time game mode is out, and the moderators working on the game add so many cool things as we go along. It's come a long way since its re-release in 2013, originally planned for only a small development team. Story 16. Not sure anyone will see this, but easy access to resources like electricity, gas, water, and food. In the next 50 years, infrastructure will start collapsing, the effects of global warming will become obvious, and nutrients in soil will become more depleted. Humanity will be forced to confront a lot of issues that have been swept under the rug during the 20th century. At that point, resources will be rationed. We will remember the free access to resources in the early 2000s fondly. Story 17. I would say we're in the golden age of scams. From high-level celebrities to everyday people, a large number of individuals are just trying to extract wealth from scams. There are parts of the world where the economy would collapse without these scammer farms. Story 18. Information. You can, in seconds, access pretty much everything about a topic, from super simplified explanations to scientific articles and online courses from prestigious universities. Story 19. Turkey hunting in the United States. The wild turkey was almost extinct a handful of decades ago, and they are a kind of success story for conservation. Story 20. We are on the very early starting edge of the golden age of space exploration. The very, very starting point of basically every science fiction movie and show actually happening. Story 21. Podcasts. If you love podcasts, this is like the pinnacle. There aren't enough hours in the day, honestly. If you don't like podcasts, I don't think you'll understand. But if you want to get into them or you're already into them, you'd understand. Story 22. Food. Think about it. Yes, we have toxic food too, but if you go to any other section of the market besides the chemical section, you can find things you wouldn't have just 50 to 100 years ago. Before 1919, you wouldn't even find a pepperoni pizza. Today, we have so much variety and options from different countries too. Unlike before when you only had what your own country offered. We also have fusions of two different cuisines. Story 23. Golden Age of Information probably. Anyone from anywhere can get any information necessary, except people from countries where there's huge censorship such as North Korea and China, for example, so maybe not that. Story 24. Just like 100 years ago, this feels like the Gilded Age. We have tycoons like they did back then, such as Rockefeller and Carnegie, as well as Gates, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Musk. Story 25. We are more peaceful than ever, better fed than ever, we have better health than ever, and we have more information than our ancestors could have ever dreamed of. And with all of that, the future now looks very bleak. I think we reached for the stars, touched the moon, and now we fall to the dirt. I do not see a future where we do not lose most of what we have now. Story 26. I think at this point we are at incredible peaks of medical advancements and just absurd athletic talent in hockey, basketball, baseball, football, wrestling, and so on. Old records are being broken daily, and unless bionic and crazy stem cell treatments advance athletes' capabilities even further, I can't see it getting much better. Or maybe I will be proven wrong in the future. Story 27. Professional wrestling has never been more available. Plenty of companies have strong presences on YouTube, such as World Wrestling Entertainment, All Elite Wrestling and Ring of Honor, Total Nonstop Action, National Wrestling Alliance, and Major League Wrestling, and many offer full matches and sometimes even shows there. A lot of that content is free. Larger portions of the flagship shows of World Wrestling Entertainment and All Elite Wrestling, America's two largest professional wrestling promotions, are posted to YouTube for free. Larger companies like World Wrestling Entertainment, New Japan Pro Wrestling, All Elite Wrestling and Ring of Honor, and Total Nonstop Action have streaming deals or their own streaming service where large parts of their tape libraries are available. World Wrestling Entertainment has put its content on Peacock, while All Elite Wrestling is coming to HBO Max in January, meaning that for the price of an existing streaming membership you can watch professional wrestling as well. Supercards, such as WrestleMania, are available for free or at a reduced price. World Wrestling Entertainment owns its own and the tape libraries of World Championship Wrestling and Extreme Championship Wrestling, among others, And of these, I can think of only a handful of major pay-per-views that aren't available, and one of those, Over the Edge 1999, isn't available for a very obvious reason. You can see the fracturing already. Netflix has rights to World Wrestling Entertainment's Raw starting in January, and it appears that they might pick up the archives of Raw, splitting them off from Peacock, or the countries where the World Wrestling Entertainment Network is still active. Don't quote me, I'm no expert in international streaming rights, and some of the companies on YouTube are locking their content behind memberships. Still, there's never been an easier, cheaper time to be a fan of professional wrestling. Edit. One more great thing about professional wrestling these days is that a lot of the guys who were huge in the 1980s and 1990s were athletes who came to professional wrestling from other sports. A lot of the wrestlers today were kids who wanted to get into professional wrestling from the beginning. The love and passion they have for the business shine through. Story 28. I'll say access to anime. You all kids didn't know. In the 1990s and early 2000s, if you wanted to watch anime, you had to either have a buddy who went to Japan, taped it, and then subtitled it himself, or you had to go to the one specialty video store in your city that stocked it. Even in the early 2000s, you would have to get a DVD box set or stay up until 2 a.m. to watch Adult Swim's anime content, or you would have to pirate it at varying qualities with weird subtitles based on one particular uploader's preferences. Modern age, it's on every streaming service, including one dedicated just to anime. And you have so many choices. In the 90s, the genre was just anime. It was you and your buddy talking about the subtitled version of Trigun he had on VHS and talking about maybe having a hookup for Neon Genesis Evangelion, but the whole genre was just anime. Now, there's an anime for every taste and subgenre. And it's mainstream. It's not the peculiar kid who doesn't wash himself and is way too into World War II dictators watching anime. It's awesome, people. Anyways, the answer is anime. This is a good age to be an anime fan. Story 29. Democratization of broadcasting. Before YouTube and other streaming platforms, you could not directly talk to millions of people without being part of established structures like political parties or media. Story 30. As a paraglider pilot flying for 39 years, the amazement that 15 kilograms of equipment makes me able to fly 100 kilometers never loses me. The dream of Icarus realized in my lifetime. Quite affordable. Simple to learn. A lifetime to master. I'm so lucky. And maybe in a few years, commercial drones will fill the airspace and will not be able to do it as unrestricted as it is now. So absolutely a golden age of free flight. Story 31. Nazca geoglyphs discovery. For all the time before 2019, we only knew about 150 Nazca geoglyphs, and now we've discovered over 450 more in just a few years. Story 32. Structural biology is the study of how the three-dimensional shapes of the molecules of life, proteins, DNA, and RNA, and all the strange and wonderful compounds that interact with them, make them work. In biochemistry, function follows form, so these shapes are truly valuable across the biomedical sciences. Over the last 10 years, advances in a technology called cryogenic electron microscopy have driven a significant leap in the amount and variety of different structure scientists can obtain. This includes drug targets, disease-causing mutations, and the critical machinery of viruses and bacteria. It is an exciting time, and the technology is becoming more powerful every year. This technology was so transformative that it was the basis for the 2017 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Things that were essentially impossible when I was an undergraduate are now practically routine in my field. We've also been boosted by AlphaFold, an artificial intelligence model that is very accurate at predicting the general structures of proteins. At the very frontier, labs are using these predictive models to create entirely new proteins with new functions. It is not just a golden age. In my opinion, it is the single most exciting time to be involved in this field since it began in the 1950s. Story 33. Services. You don't own things. You simply access them for a price that is more easily available than at any other time in history. Some of them might be country-specific. You want to go somewhere. Drivers want to take you there. Bam. Uber. You want to eat. Restaurants want to serve. Bam. Uber Eats. You want to buy something. The shopkeeper wants to sell something. Bam. Google Pay or Venmo. You want a place to stay. Someone else wants to rent their house or hotel. Bam. Airbnb or Make My Trip. You want to listen to music. There's an unlimited library of music available that you can access without purchasing. Bam. Spotify, YouTube Music, or Amazon Music. Then there's entertainment as a service. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, and the list goes on and on. Story 34. I hope that the discovery of CRISPR puts us on the cusp of the golden age of defeating hereditary disease. Trials on sickle cell anemia look very promising. Story 35. In the United States, we're in the golden age of marijuana. Products are becoming more varied and sophisticated. We're starting to select for taste and treat it more and more like a fine product. It's pretty cool and fun if you enjoy it. Story 36. More than a decade ago, my history teacher and I had a lengthy discussion about this. My opinion at the time was that we were in the glass age or plastic age due to how prevalent the two are across the world and how necessary they are for our current technology. His counter was that we are in the information age due to how readily available information is for anyone in the world, regardless of economic status. Anyone can learn anything at any time almost anywhere, which is something 99% of the global population does not know how to truly take advantage of. As I have gotten older, I have realized just how correct he was. I have a small library of books in my home that would make my ancestors weak in the knees, but it is barely a drop in the bucket compared to my digital library that I have several backups of.